Prince Alvren stood on the bridge of his warship and smiled. His purple skin gleamed under the red lights of the command center. The young alien wore the traditional black armor of his people, the Zephyrians. On his belt hung a plasma blade that had been in his family for 300 years. Today was the day he would prove himself worthy of his father's name. The massive warship called the Crimson Talon drifted through space like a giant metal shark. Its dark hull bristled with weapons and armor plating. Red symbols marked the ship as belonging to House Kethter, one of the most feared warrior families in the Zephyrian Empire. Alvren was 25 years old, which made him barely an adult. By his people's standards, he had trained with the blade since he could walk. He had studied war tactics since he could read, but he had never led his own raid before. His father, Lord Commander Kethter, had finally decided his son was ready. "My prince," said Captain Vexhai, the ship's commander. The older Zephyrian bowed his head slightly. His own plasma blade hung at his side, though it was not as ornate as the prince's weapon. "We have detected a vessel on our long-range sensors." Alvren turned toward the main viewing screen. His purple eyes lit up with excitement. "Show me." The screen flickered and displayed a three-dimensional image of space. In the center floated a small ship, maybe 1/10 the size of the Crimson Talon. It looked battered and old, with dull metal plating and simple design. No weapons were visible on its hull. "What species?" Alvren asked. "Human, my prince," Captain Vexhai replied. He tapped a control panel, and more information appeared on the screen. "The ship is called the Stellar Wanderer. It appears to be a cargo vessel. Our scans show minimal defenses and a small crew." Alvren's smile grew wider. "Humans. Perfect. Throughout the galaxy, humans had a reputation for being weak and soft. They came from a small blue planet called Earth, far from the major trade routes. Most alien species saw them as barely more than clever animals. They had no natural weapons like claws or fangs. Their skin was thin and easily damaged. They lived such short lives that they barely had time to learn proper combat skills. The Zephyrians, by contrast, were natural warriors. They lived for 500 years, giving them centuries to perfect their fighting abilities. Their bodies were stronger and faster than human bodies. Their plasma blades could cut through starship armor like paper. They had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved entire species. "Distance to target?" Alvren asked. 2 million kilometers, my prince. We can reach them in 30 minutes. Alvren nodded. "Excellent. Signal the crew to prepare for boarding action." Captain Vexhai hesitated. "My prince, perhaps we should simply destroy the vessel from long range. It would be safer and quicker." The young prince turned to glare at his captain. His purple eyes flashed with anger. "Safer? Are you suggesting that I, a prince of house Kethter, need to fear a handful of humans? No, my prince. But our intelligence reports suggest that humans can be unpredictable. It might be wise to exercise caution." Alvren laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "Unpredictable? They are primitives who have barely learned to leave their home planet. What could they possibly do against Zephyrian blade masters?" He walked closer to the viewing screen, studying the human ship. It looked so small and helpless floating in the void. "No, Captain. I will not hide behind our ship's weapons like a coward. This will be my first victory, and I will claim it properly. We board the vessel, capture the crew alive, and take their ship as a prize." The captain bowed his head again. "As you command, my prince." Alvren turned to address the bridge crew. "Alert the boarding parties. I want my 12 best blade masters ready for combat. We launch in 20 minutes." As the crew rushed to carry out his orders, Alvren felt a surge of pride. Soon he would have his first victory. Soon he would prove to his father that he was worthy of the Kethter name. And soon the galaxy would know that Prince Alvren was a warrior to be feared. 20 minutes later, Alvren stood in the docking bay wearing his combat armor. 12 elite Zephyrian warriors surrounded him, each one a master. Of the plasma blade, these were not ordinary soldiers. They were the best fighters in his father's army, veterans of a dozen campaigns. Each had killed more enemies than most warriors saw in their entire lives. The boarding pod waited behind them, a sleek metal craft designed to attach to enemy ships and cut through their hulls. It could carry 15 warriors and had enough firepower to blast through most defensive systems. Remember, Alvren told his warriors, "I want prisoners. Kill only if you must. These humans will serve as trophies of our victory." The Blade Masters nodded silently. They had served House Kethter for decades and knew their duty. Alvren activated his plasma blade. The weapon hummed to life, its glowing edge hot enough to melt steel. The other warriors did the same, filling the docking bay with purple light. "Board the pod," Alvren commanded. The warriors filed into the small craft, their armor clanking against the metal walls. Alvren took his place at the front, where he could be the first to step onto the enemy vessel. It was a matter of honor that the prince lead from the front. The pod's engines roared to life. Through the small windows, Alvren could see the human ship growing larger as they approached. It still looked defenseless and weak. 2 minutes to contact, the pilot announced. Alvren gripped his plasma blade tighter. His heart pounded with excitement. This was what he had trained for his entire life. This was his moment to prove himself as a true Zephyrian warrior. The human ship filled the windows now. Its hull was scarred and dented, proof of its age and poor maintenance. Alvren could see small windows along its sides, but no movement within. The humans probably didn't even know death was coming for them. 30 seconds to contact. Alvren could hear the boarding pod's cutting tools warming up. Soon they would punch through the human hull like a spear through soft flesh. The humans inside would have no time to react, no time to prepare. They would face 12 of the galaxy's deadliest warriors with nothing but their primitive weapons and weak bodies. Contact in 10 seconds. Cutting tools ready. Alvren raised his plasma, blade high. Behind him, his warriors did the same. Their weapons cast dancing shadows on the pod's walls. 5 ... 4 ... 3 ... 2 ... contact. The pod slammed into the human ship's hull. Immediately, the cutting tools began their work, slicing through metal plating like it was paper. Sparks flew as the tools carved a perfect circle in the hull. Within seconds, a section of metal fell away, leaving a gaping hole. Air rushed out of the human ship, but the pod's seals held firm. Alvren could see into the ship's interior now. It looked like a cargo hold, filled with metal crates and storage. Containers. Perfect for an ambush if the humans were smart enough to set one. But Alvren doubted they would be. "Go!" he shouted. Prince Alvren leaped through the hole first, his plasma blade ready to strike. His warriors followed close behind, their weapons glowing in the dim light of the human ship. The hunt had begun. Alvren landed inside the human ship with his plasma blade ready to kill. His 12 warriors spread out behind him, their purple weapons casting strange shadows on the metal walls. The cargo hold was larger than it had looked from outside, filled with sealed crates and humming machinery. But something was wrong. The crates were not normal cargo containers. They had strange symbols carved into their surfaces, symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. Some of the containers were made from materials Alvren had never seen before. They looked ancient, far older than anything humans should possess. "Spread out," Alvren commanded quietly. "Search every corner. Find the humans." His warriors moved like deadly shadows through the cargo hold. Their training showed in every step. They checked behind every crate, every piece of machinery. But the hold seemed empty of life, and a voice spoke from hidden speakers in the walls. "This is Dr. Sarah Chun, captain of the Stellar Wanderer. You are boarding our vessel illegally. We are a peaceful research ship on a scientific mission. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." The voice was calm and clear. It spoke in perfect galactic standard, the common language used by most spacefaring species. Alvren was surprised. Most humans could barely speak their own primitive language, let alone the complex words of galactic standard. "I am Prince Alvren of House Kethter," he called out loudly. "You will surrender immediately or face the consequences." There was a pause. Then the human voice spoke again. "Prince Alvren, we have no weapons and mean you no harm. Our ship carries only scientific equipment and research materials. Perhaps we can reach an understanding." Alvren laughed. "The only understanding you need is this human. You are now prisoners of the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Resist and you will die." Another pause. When the voice came back, it sounded sad. "I was afraid you would say that." Suddenly, lights began flashing throughout the cargo hold. A loud alarm started blaring. Alvren spun around, trying to find the source of the noise. "What is this?" he demanded. His answer came from one of his warriors near the far wall. "My prince, I have found an entrance to the rest of the ship." Alvren strode over to where the warrior stood. A metal door had opened in the wall, revealing a corridor beyond. Bright white light poured out from the passage. "Excellent. Form up. We go in fast and hard." The 12 blade masters arranged themselves in attack formation. Alvren took the lead position, his plasma blade humming with deadly energy. Behind him, his warriors prepared to follow their prince into battle. They entered the corridor at a run. The passage was wider than Alvren had expected. The walls were lined with strange panels covered in blinking lights. More of those mysterious symbols were carved into the metal surfaces. The air smelled different here. Cleaner somehow. They reached a junction where the corridor split into 3 directions. Alvren paused, trying to decide which way to go. "Motion sensors detect life forms to the right," reported one of his warriors, checking a handheld scanner. "Right passage. Move." They charged down the right corridor, their armored feet thundering on the metal floor. At the end of the passage was another door, this one sealed shut. "Blast it open," Alvren ordered. One of his warriors stepped forward and aimed his plasma blade at the door. The superheated edge began cutting through the metal like butter. Sparks flew as the blade carved a large hole in the barrier. But as soon as the hole was complete, something unexpected happened. A cloud of thick, choking gas poured out through the opening. Alvren's warriors stumbled backward, coughing and gasping. Their armor's air filters struggled to clean the poisonous fumes. "Gas masks!" Alvren shouted, pulling his own breathing apparatus over his face. Through the swirling gas, shapes moved in the room beyond. Human shapes. "There!" Alvren pointed with his blade. "Attack!" He leaped through the hole in the door, followed by his warriors. But the gas made it hard to see clearly. Everything was a blur of gray smoke and moving shadows. Alvren swung his plasma blade at the first human shape he saw. The weapon cut through empty air. The human had moved faster than he expected. Something hard struck him in the back, sending him stumbling forward. He spun around, trying to find his attacker, but saw only more swirling gas. His warriors were having similar problems. They swung their deadly blades at shadows and struck nothing. Meanwhile, objects flew out of the gas cloud and struck them from all directions. Not weapons, exactly, but heavy tools and pieces of equipment that hit with surprising force. "They are using the gas to hide," one warrior called out. Then we clear the gas, Alvren replied. He activated his armor's ventilation system at full power. Several of his warriors did the same. Slowly, the poisonous cloud began to thin dot as the air cleared. Alvren got his first good look at his enemies. There were 6 humans in the room. They stood behind makeshift barriers made from furniture and equipment. Their clothing was simple and practical, not armor. None of them appeared to be carrying traditional weapons, but Alvren noticed something that made him pause. These humans were not cowering in fear like he had expected. Instead, they watched him and his warriors with calm, calculating eyes. They looked like they were studying him, learning from his movements. The largest human, a man with dark skin and graying hair, stepped forward. He raised his empty hands to show he was not armed. "I am Dr. Sarah Chun," the man said. "We can still resolve this peacefully." Alvren blinked in confusion. "You are Dr. Chun? But you are male." "No," said a woman's voice from behind the barriers. "I am Dr. Chun. That is Dr. Rodriguez, our engineering specialist." A smaller woman with Asian features emerged from behind one of the barriers. She also had her hands raised, but her eyes were sharp and alert. "It does not matter who you are," Alvren said, raising his plasma blade. "You will all be coming with us as prisoners." Dr. Chun nodded slowly. "I see. And if we refuse, then you die." The woman exchanged glances with her companions. Alvren could see them communicating without words, probably through some primitive human telepathy. Or perhaps they were simply very good at reading each other's expressions. "We need a moment to discuss this among ourselves," Dr. Chun said. Alvren laughed. "You have 10 seconds. The humans huddled together behind their barriers. They spoke in quiet voices that Alvren could not quite hear. He noticed that they kept glancing at the walls and ceiling, as if they were looking for something. "Time is up," Alvren announced. "What is your decision?" Dr. Chun straightened up and looked directly at him. "We choose option 3. There is no option 3. There is no." Suddenly, the lights went out. The room plunged into total darkness. Alvren's warriors activated the lights on their armor, but the beams only created small circles of visibility in the black void. "Stay together," Alvren shouted. "They cannot hide in the dark forever." But even as he spoke, he heard sounds moving around them in the darkness. Footsteps, quiet voices, the scraping of metal against metal. The humans were moving, but he could not tell where they were going. Then something crashed into one of his warriors from behind. The Zephyrian warrior stumbled forward with a cry of surprise. His plasma blade flickered and went out. "My weapon!" The warrior called out. "Something has damaged my weapon." Before Alvren could respond, another warrior cried out in alarm. "My blade is malfunctioning. The plasma field is unstable." Alvren felt a chill run down his spine. Plasma blades were the most reliable weapons in the galaxy. They did not simply malfunction for no reason. "Reform ranks," he commanded. "Back-to-back formation." His remaining warriors moved to obey, but in the darkness it was hard to coordinate. They bumped into each other and struggled to maintain formation. Then the lights came back on. Alvren looked around quickly, trying to assess the situation. 2 of his warriors were on the ground, unconscious but breathing. Their plasma blades lay beside them, dark and inactive. The humans had somehow disabled the weapons without killing the warriors who carried them. But where were the humans? Dr. Chun's voice came from speakers hidden in the walls. "Prince Alvren, your warriors are skilled, but they are not prepared for this kind of fight. We can continue, but more of your people will be hurt. Are you certain you want to proceed?" Alvren's face burned with shame and anger. These weak humans had somehow defeated 2 of his elite warriors without even killing them. It was impossible. It had to be some kind of trick. Show yourselves, he demanded. Face me like warriors. We are not warriors, Prince Alvren. We are scientists, but that does not mean we are helpless. Alvren gripped his plasma blade tighter. Around him, his remaining 10 warriors stood ready for battle. But for the first time since the boarding began, the young prince was starting to doubt himself. These humans were not behaving like any enemy he had studied. They were not fighting like soldiers, or even like desperate civilians. They were fighting like something else entirely. They were fighting like humans. Alvren stared at the unconscious warriors on the floor. His plasma blade trembled in his grip. 2 of his best fighters had been defeated by humans who claimed to be scientists. It made no sense. Kethver, Zandai, he called to 2 of his remaining warriors. Check on the fallen. The warriors knelt beside their unconscious comrades. After a moment, Kethver looked up. They are alive, my prince, but their armor's power systems have been completely drained. And their weapons, ... He held up one of the dark plasma blades. The power cells are empty. Not damaged, just empty. How is that possible? Alvren demanded. A new voice answered from the speakers. This one belonged to a younger human with an accent Alvren did not recognize. Electromagnetic pulse, mate. Localized short range, but very effective against your plasma containment fields. Drains the power right out of them. Dr. Chun's voice came back. That was Alex Petrov, our systems analyst. As I said, we are scientists. We study how things work, including weapons. Alvren felt anger building in his chest. Tricks and cowardice. Face us in honest combat. Why? Asked another voice. This one female with a different accent. You came here to capture or kill us. We did not invite this fight. If you want honest combat, leave our ship and challenge us to a duel in space. Dr. Tanaka makes a good point, Dr. Chon added. You are the aggressors here. We are simply defending ourselves with whatever tools we have available. Alvren's warriors looked to him for orders. He could see doubt in their eyes now. The legendary Zephyrian blade masters were being outfought by 6 humans with improvised weapons. Advance, Alvren commanded. Search every room. Find them. His 10 remaining warriors spread out through the chamber. They moved more carefully. Now, checking every shadow and corner. Their plasma blades cast purple light on the walls, but somehow the humans had vanished again. The room they were in appeared to be some kind of library. Workbenches lined the walls, covered with strange equipment and computer screens. More of those ancient artifacts sat in protective cases, their alien symbols glowing softly. Kethver approached one of the workbenches and examined the equipment there. My prince, these devices, I do not recognize this technology. Alvren moved to look over his warrior's shoulder. The bench held several small machines that hummed with energy. Wires and cables connected them to larger devices mounted on the walls. Everything looked functional but alien. Human technology, Alvren said dismissively. Primitive but clever. Actually, came Dr. Rodriguez's voice from the speakers, most of that equipment is about 50,000 years old. We found it on an archaeological dig. Amazing what you can learn when you study the past. 50,000 years? Alvren frowned. That was older than Zephyrian civilization itself. How could humans possess technology that ancient? You lie, he called out. Check the dating scans yourself, Dr. Chon replied. The data is on the central computer, though I suppose reading our files would be difficult without understanding human computer systems. Another warrior, Zandai, called out from across the room. My prince, I have found another passage. Alvren hurried over to where Zandai stood. A section of the wall had slid aside, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel. Cool air flowed out of the opening, carrying strange chemical smells. They went this way, Zandai reported, pointing to scuff marks on the tunnel floor. Pursue them, Alvren ordered. But be careful. They may have more traps. Zandai nodded and entered the tunnel, his plasma blade held ready. 3 other warriors followed him. Their lights disappeared into the darkness of the passage. For several minutes, Alvren heard nothing. Then came the sound of shouting and running feet. One of his warriors came stumbling back out of the tunnel, his armor smoking, and his face pale with shock. "Gas," the warrior gasped. "Some kind of chemical weapon. The others are trapped." Alvren felt ice form in his stomach. "What kind of gas?" "I do not know. It burns the skin and makes breathing difficult. Cathar and the others are unconscious. I barely escaped." Dr. Chun's voice came from the speakers again, but now she sounded tired. "It is not a weapon, Prince Alvren. It is a geological sample from the planet we were studying. We use it to dissolve certain types of rock. Unfortunately, it has the same effect on most organic materials. You are using industrial chemicals as weapons. We are using whatever we have to defend ourselves. Would you prefer we just stand still while you capture us?" Alvren's remaining 6 warriors gathered around him. He could see fear in their eyes now, mixed with confusion. These were veterans who had fought across the galaxy, but they had never encountered an enemy like this. "My prince," one of them said, quietly, "perhaps we should call for backup from the ship." Alvren activated his communication device. "Crimson Talon, this is Prince Alvren. Request immediate support." Static came back through the speaker. Then more static. No response. "Crimson Talon, respond immediately." Still nothing. Dr. Petrov's voice came through the ship's speakers. "Sorry, mate. Your comms are down for the moment. Something about viral interference in your signal protocols. Fascinating how vulnerable they are to the right kind of electronic attack. You are jamming our communications?" "Not jamming. More like redirecting. Your signals are going out, but they are not going where you want them to go." Alvren felt panic starting to build in his chest. His communications were down. Half his warriors were unconscious or trapped. The humans had somehow turned his elite boarding party into a confused group of lost soldiers. "This is impossible." He shouted, "You are just humans." "Yes," Dr. Chun replied simply. "We are." Something in her tone made Alvren pause. There was no boasting in her voice, no pride or arrogance. She stated it like a simple fact. Yes, they were human. And somehow that was enough. A new sound reached his ears. Footsteps coming from multiple directions. The humans were moving again. But this time they were not hiding. Dr. Chun emerged from a doorway to his left. Dr. Rodriguez appeared from another passage to his right. One by one, all 6 humans stepped out of their hiding places to surround Alvren and his remaining warriors. Still carried no traditional weapons. But each of them held something. Dr. Chun had a device that looked like a mining tool, but it hummed with energy. Dr. Rodriguez carried what appeared to be a welding torch, modified with extra cables and attachments. The others held similar improvised devices. "Prince Alvren," Dr. Chun said, "I am going to make you an offer. Surrender now, and we will treat your wounded warriors and allow you to contact your ship. Continue fighting, and we will defend ourselves with whatever means necessary." Alvren looked around at his 6 remaining warriors. They were outnumbered, cut off from their ship, and facing enemies who seemed to know more about fighting than any scientists should. But he was a prince of House Kethter. His family had never surrendered to anyone. "Never," he said, raising his plasma blade. "We fight to the death." Dr. Chun nodded sadly. "I was afraid you would say that." She raised her modified mining tool and pointed it at Alvren. The device began to glow with a strange blue light. "Tom, are you ready?" She called to Dr. Rodriguez. "Ready, Sarah. Yuki, what about the artifact?" A smaller woman with Asian features held up one of the ancient alien devices. "Active and charging. Sam, cover the exits." "Already on it," replied a tall man with military bearing. "Alex, how long until the ship's AI comes online?" "Marcus is already online," the youngest human answered. "He has been analyzing their combat patterns for the past 10 minutes. He knows everything." Alvren felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. The humans were not panicking or desperate. They were coordinated, organized, and prepared. They had been preparing for this moment since his warriors first boarded their ship. "Who are you people?" he whispered. Dr. Chon smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. "We told you, Prince Alvren. We are scientists. We study things. We learn how they work. We solve problems." She raised her weapon higher. "And right now, you are our problem." The modified mining tool in her hands began to emit a high-pitched whine. Around the room, the other humans activated their own devices. The ancient alien artifact in Dr. Tanaka's hands pulsed with light that hurt to look at. For the first time in his life, Prince Alvren of House Kethter realized he might be about to lose a fight, and for the first time, he understood why his father had warned him never to underestimate any enemy, even humans. The blue light from Dr. Chon's weapon grew brighter. Alvren raised his plasma blade to attack, but something impossible happened. The glowing edge of his ancestral weapon flickered and went dark. "What?" Alvren stared at his blade in shock. The weapon had been in his family for 3 centuries. It had never failed before. "Plasma disruption field," Dr. Rodriguez explained calmly. "Sarah's mining tool was designed to break apart molecular bonds in rock. Turns out it works pretty well on plasma containment fields, too." Around the room, Alvren's remaining warriors found their weapons failing one by one. The deadly blades that had conquered worlds went dark and silent. Within seconds, 6 elite Zephyrian fighters stood helpless with useless metal handles in their hands. "Impossible," Alvren whispered. "Our blades are powered by quantum batteries. They cannot be drained so easily." Dr. Petrov spoke up from where he stood near a computer terminal. "Quantum batteries are fascinating things. Very stable, very reliable. But they depend on quantum entanglement to maintain their charge. Disrupt the entanglement and—" He made a soft popping sound with his mouth. "No more power. You are lying." Alvren shouted. "Humans do not understand quantum mechanics." "Actually," said Dr. Tanaka, still holding the glowing alien artifact, "humans figured out quantum mechanics about 200 years ago. We have been improving on it ever since." Alvren felt his world spinning. Everything he had been taught about humans was wrong. They were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be easy prey for superior species, like the Zephyrians. But these 6 humans had just defeated 12 elite warriors without killing a single one. "Surrender now?" Dr. Chon said again. "This does not have to get worse. A prince of House Kethter does not surrender." Alvren drew a backup weapon from his belt, a simple energy pistol. His warriors did the same. "Marcus," Dr. Chun said quietly. "Defensive pattern 7. "Acknowledged, Dr. Chun," came a new voice from the speakers. This one sounded artificial, but somehow more intelligent than any computer Alvren had ever heard. "Implementing countermeasures." Now, the lights in the room began to flash in a rapid pattern. At the same time, a high-pitched sound filled the air. Alvren tried to aim his pistol at Dr. Chun, but something was wrong with his vision. The flashing lights made everything blur together. His warriors were having the same problem. They stumbled around the room, unable to focus on their targets. The sound seemed to be getting inside their heads, making it hard to think clearly. Sensory overload, Dr. Rodriguez called out over the noise. Designed to interfere with Zephyrian neural patterns. We learned about your brain structure from captured equipment. You have been studying us, Alvren realized with growing horror. Of course we have, Dr. Chun replied. Your people have been raiding ships in this sector for months. Did you think we would not investigate? The flashing lights and sounds stopped. Alvren blinked, trying to clear his vision. When he could see again, he found himself surrounded. The 6 humans had moved while he was disoriented. Now they stood in a circle. Around him and his warriors, their improvised weapons ready. Last chance, Dr. Chun said. Surrender, or we start using more aggressive measures. Alvren looked at his warriors. They were confused and frightened, their legendary weapons useless in their hands. For the first time in Zephyrian history, elite blade masters had been completely outfought by an inferior species. But Alvren's pride would not let him give up. If we must die, we die as warriors. He threw down his energy pistol and charged at Dr. Chun with his bare hands. Behind him, his warriors followed his lead. It was a mistake. Dr. Chun stepped aside with surprising grace. As Alvren rushed past her, something struck him hard in the back of the legs. He fell to the metal floor with a crash that echoed through the room. Before he could get up, strong hands grabbed his arms and pulled them behind his back. Metal restraints clicked around his wrists. Enhanced reaction time, Dr. Rodriguez explained as he helped secure the prince. Side effect of human. Adrenaline production. We get faster and stronger when we are threatened. Around the room, the other warriors were being subdued with similar ease. The humans moved with coordination and efficiency that spoke of training and practice. They were not just scientists, they were something more. Who are you really? Alvren demanded as he was hauled to his feet. Dr. Chun studied him for a moment before answering. I told you the truth. We are scientists, but humans learn many skills during their short lives. Dr. Rodriguez was an engineer in the Colonial Defense Force for 20 years before becoming a researcher. Sam Morrison served as a Marine before studying biology. Even I spent time in the merchant fleet before earning my doctorate. And the others? Alex was a signals intelligence specialist. Yuki studied ancient languages because she wanted to understand old military codes. We all chose peaceful careers eventually, but we never forgot our other training. Alvren felt sick. The humans had not defeated his warriors through superior technology alone. They had defeated them through experience, knowledge, and the kind of practical skills that came from living dangerous lives. Why did you not simply kill us? He asked. Because we are not warriors anymore, Dr. Chun replied. We chose a different path. But that does not mean we forgot how to fight when fighting becomes necessary. A new sound reached them from somewhere else in the ship. It was the unmistakable noise of metal being cut by plasma tools. Alvren's heart leaped with hope. My ship, he called out. They have come to rescue me. Dr. Chun exchanged glances with her companions. Marcus, what is the status of the Crimson Talon? The Zephyrian vessel is attempting to cut through our hull near Section 7, the AI replied. Their plasma cutters are making progress, but slowly. Estimated time to breach, 47 minutes. And their weapon systems? Still offline, Dr. Chun. The virus Alex uploaded through their boarding pod has spread throughout their computer network. They have lost most of their defensive capabilities. Alvren stared in shock. You attacked my ship? We defended ourselves. Dr. Petrov corrected. Your boarding pod maintained an active data link with your ship's computers. I simply followed the connection back and introduced some malicious code. Nothing permanent, but it should keep them busy for a while. You turned their own boarding tactics against them, Dr. Chun added. Classic human strategy. Use the enemy's strength as a weakness. The sound of cutting tools grew louder. Alvren could hear shouts and commands in the Zephyrian language coming from the direction of the hull breach. "They will bring plasma cannons," he warned. "Heavy weapons that can destroy this entire section of your ship." "Probably," Dr. Chon agreed. "Tom, how long until the artifact is fully charged?" Dr. Rodriguez checked a handheld device connected to the alien relic that Dr. Tanaka still held. "About 30 minutes. Maybe less if we channel more power to it." "Do it. Marcus, prepare to implement Plan Gamma." "Acknowledged." "Warning. Plan Gamma carries significant risk to ship integrity." "I know, but we do not have much choice now." Alvren watched this exchange with growing dread. The humans were planning something, and from their tone, it was not going to be pleasant for him or his ship. "What is Plan Gamma?" he demanded. Dr. Chun looked at him with what might have been pity. "Something we hoped we would never have to use. The artifact your warriors are trying so hard to reach contains technology from a race that died out 50,000 years ago. We have spent months learning to activate it. What does it do?" "It was a defensive weapon designed to disable attacking starships without destroying them. The original owners believed in giving their enemies a chance to reconsider their actions." The cutting sounds from the hall grew louder. Sparks began to show through the wall as the Zephyrian plasma tools made progress. "We are going to give your ship the same chance," Dr. Chun continued, "but I suspect they will not take it." As if summoned by her words, a section of the wall glowed red-hot and began to buckle inward. The Zephyrian rescue team was almost through. 20 minutes until breach," Marcus announced. "Artifact charging at 93%. Dr. Chun picked up a communication device from one of the workbenches. "This is Dr. Sarah Chun, aboard the research vessel Stellar Wanderer. I am speaking to the commander of the Zephyrian warship Crimson." "Talon." Static crackled from the device. Then a harsh voice answered in heavily accented Galactic Standard. "This is Captain Vex High. You will release Prince Alvren immediately, or face the consequences." "Captain, your prince and his warriors are safe and unharmed. They will be returned to you if you withdraw your ship and cease hostile actions." "Impossible." "You will surrender or be destroyed." Dr. Chon sighed. "I was afraid you would say that." The wall began to glow brighter as the Zephyrian cutting tools neared breakthrough. In just a few minutes, heavily armed warriors would pour through that opening, but the humans did not look worried. If anything, they looked sad. "Some people," Dr. Rodriguez said quietly, "never learn when to stop fighting." Dr. Chon nodded. "Marcus, activate Plan Gamma in 15 minutes. Whether the artifact is fully charged or not." "Acknowledged." "Beginning. Final preparations now." Alvren realized with growing terror that he was about to witness something that would change everything he thought he knew about humans. And he was not sure his people would survive the lesson. The wall exploded inward with a shower of sparks and molten metal. Captain Vex High charged through the breach first, followed by 20 heavily armed Zephyrian warriors. They wore full combat armor and carried plasma rifles powerful enough to blast through starship hulls. "Release the prince." Captain Vex High roared, his weapon trained on Dr. Chun. The humans did not flinch. They stood calmly around their prisoners, still holding their improvised weapons. Dr. Tanaka continued to hold the glowing alien artifact, which now pulsed with light bright enough to hurt the eyes. "Captain," Dr. Chun said in a steady voice, "I strongly advise you to withdraw your forces. You are about to make a very serious mistake. The only mistake was yours when you dared to attack a prince of the Zephyrian Empire." Captain Vex High gestured to his warriors. "Kill them all except the female. We will take her back for questioning." But before the warriors could fire, Prince Alvren spoke up. "Wait," he called out. "Captain, these humans are not what we thought. They have defeated my entire boarding party without killing anyone. They have weapons we do not understand. Captain. Vex-High glanced at his prince with surprise. My lord? They have technologies that should not exist. Alvren continued urgently. They disabled our plasma blades. They infected our ship's computers with some kind of virus. They know things about US that should be impossible for primitives to know. Impossible. They are merely humans. Dr. Chun stepped forward. Captain Vex-High, your prince is trying to save your lives. You should listen to him. I do not take advice from prey animals, the captain snarled. Marcus, Dr. Chun said quietly. Time remaining? 3 minutes, Dr. Chun. The artifact has reached full charge. Captain Vex-High frowned. What artifact? What are you talking about? Dr. Tanaka raised the ancient device higher. It was now glowing so brightly that it cast shadows throughout the room. Strange symbols covered its surface, pulsing with energy that seemed to come from somewhere beyond. Normal space. This artifact belonged to a race called the Ethereals, Dr. Chon explained. They were the dominant species in this galaxy 50,000 years ago. They built machines that could manipulate matter and energy in ways we are only beginning to understand. Primitive superstition, Captain Vex-High scoffed. There is no such thing as ancient super technology. Tell that to your ship's computer systems, Dr. Petrov called out cheerfully. The virus one uploaded was based on ethereal computational theory. Very advanced stuff. Alarms began blaring throughout the human ship. Marcus's voice came through the speakers with urgent calm. Warning. Massive energy buildup detected in the artifact. All personnel should prepare for system activation. Last chance, Captain, Dr. Chun said. Order your ship to withdraw, and we will power down the artifact. No one needs to be hurt today. Captain Vex-High laughed harshly. You expect me to believe that 6 humans with a glowing rock can threaten a Zephyrian warship? Actually, Doctor, Rodriguez said, checking his instruments, it is not a rock. The material composition includes elements that do not exist on the periodic table. We think it might be artificially created matter, held together by controlled quantum forces. 1 minute to activation, Marcus announced. Prince Alvren struggled against his restraints. Captain, please. These humans have already proven they can do impossible things. Do not risk the ship. But Captain Vex-High was too proud to listen. Open fire, kill them all. The Zephyrian warriors raised their plasma rifles. Marcus, Dr. Chun said sadly, execute Plan Gamma, now. The alien artifact in Dr. Tanaka's hands suddenly blazed with light brighter than a star. Energy crackled between the strange symbols on its surface. The air itself seemed to vibrate with power dot. And then something extraordinary happened. A beam of pure energy shot out from the artifact, through the hull of the human ship, and struck the Crimson Talon. But this was not a destructive beam meant to shatter armor and kill crews. Instead, it was something far more sophisticated. Every electronic system aboard the Zephyrian warship simply stopped working. The lights went out. The engines went silent. The life support systems shut down. Even the backup power cells that should have kept emergency systems running went dead. In less than 3 seconds, the most advanced warship in the Zephyrian fleet became a powerless hulk, drifting in space. Captain Vex-High's communication device crackled with panicked voices from his ship. Captain, all systems are down. We have no power, no engines, no weapons. Engineering reports total system failure. Even the manual backups are not responding. Life support is failing. Estimate 30 minutes of air remaining. Captain Vex-High stared at the still glowing artifact in horror. What have you done? We have given your crew about half an hour to think about their life choices, Dr. Chun replied calmly. The effect is temporary. Your ship's systems will restart automatically in 45 minutes. But right now, you are completely helpless. This is impossible. No weapon can shut down every system on a starship. The Ethereals disagreed, Dr. Rodriguez said. They built this device specifically to disable attacking vessels without harming the crews. They believed in giving their enemies time to reconsider their actions. Prince Alvren slumped in his restraints. We have lost. Completely and utterly lost. Not lost, Dr. Chun corrected. Defeated. There is a difference. You are all still alive. Your ship is intact. Your crew will be fine once the artifact's effects wear off. You can go home and tell others what happened here. Captain Vex-High's face was pale with shock. Why? Why did you not simply destroy us? Because destruction accomplishes nothing, Dr. Chun replied. Dead enemies cannot learn from their mistakes. Dead enemies cannot spread warnings to others. Dead enemies cannot change their ways. She walked over to where Prince Alvren sat restrained on the floor. Your people see humans as weak prey animals. You attack us because you think we cannot fight back effectively. But you are wrong about us, Prince Alvren. We are not weak. We are not helpless, and we are definitely not easy prey. Then why do you hide your true strength? Alvren asked quietly. Because we choose peace when possible. We would rather study the universe than conquer it. We would rather learn than fight. But when fighting becomes necessary. She gestured toward the powerless Zephyrian warship, visible through the breach in the tube. Hall, we fight to win. Dr. Tanaka carefully placed the alien artifact back in its protective case. The room's lighting returned to normal as the device powered down. The Ethereals left many things behind when they vanished, she said. Weapons, tools, knowledge. We have spent years learning to use their technology safely. This artifact is just one example of what they created. How many more do you have? Captain Vex-High demanded. Enough, Dr. Chun replied simply. Marcus's voice came through the speakers again. Dr. Chun, I am receiving communication requests from 17 different Zephyrian vessels. Word of this incident appears to be spreading through their fleet. Are they requesting combat support? Negative. They are requesting permission to withdraw from human space immediately. Dr. Chun smiled. Grant their requests. And send them our complete sensor logs of this encounter. Make sure they understand exactly what happened here. She turned back to Prince Alvren. You came here looking for easy prey and trophies to prove your worth as a warrior. Instead, you found something else entirely. The question now is what you will do with this knowledge. Alvren met her eyes. For the first time since boarding her ship, he saw her clearly. Not as a weak human to be captured and enslaved, but as something far more dangerous. A member of a species that chose peace, but was fully capable of war. I will tell them, he said quietly. I will tell them all. Humans are not prey. They are predators who have chosen to hunt knowledge instead of territory. And anyone who attacks them does so at their own peril. Dr. Chun nodded approvingly. Very wise, Prince Alvren. She activated her communication device. Captain Vex-High, we are prepared to release your prince and his warriors. In exchange, you will guarantee safe passage for our ship and agree never to attack human vessels again. The captain looked around at his helpless warriors, then at the humans who had defeated them so completely. Agreed, he said finally. Excellent. Marcus, release the restraints. The metal bonds around Alvren's wrists clicked open. He rubbed his arms as circulation returned, then slowly stood up. Around the room, his warriors were also being freed. Your plasma blades will reactivate in about an hour, Dr. Rodriguez explained helpfully. The quantum disruption effect is temporary. Prince Alvren picked up his ancestral weapon and clipped it to his belt. The blade that had been his pride and symbol of his heritage now felt like a reminder of his failure. How long have humans possessed these abilities? he asked. Some of them we developed ourselves, Dr. Chun replied. Others we learned from studying alien technology, like the ethereal artifacts. But the most important ability we possess is the willingness to learn from anyone and anything, even from our enemies. As the Zephyrian warriors filed back through the breach to their ship, Prince Alvren paused at the opening. He turned back to look at the 6 humans who had changed everything he thought he knew about the universe. Dr. Chun, he said formally, I owe you a debt. You owe us nothing, Prince Alvren. Just remember this day. I will never forget it. 3 hours later, the Crimson Talon limped away from human space under partial power.